Okay, here we are. Last chapter in the course. So we're going to look at some applications to economics. So we start with the cost function. Okay, so you imagine you are, say, Samsung, and you're making smartphones, and X is the number of smartphones you're going to make, and this expression here will tell you how much it's going to cost you to make those smartphones. Okay, so you have to have a certain amount of, I guess, what you call overhead. This is the amount you have to pay even if you make zero smartphones. Things like, paying insurance on your factory or whatever, and lots of different costs, do not depend on how many phones you're making. And then of course, you'll have a part that depends on how many phones you're making. Okay, so we're going to calculate a couple things here and interpret them and use derivatives in the process. So what does it cost to make the 251st smartphone? Well, scroll down to my calculation. There it is. Okay, to make the 251st smartphone, what I do is I take the cost to make 251 and I subtract the cost to make 250. Okay, so that's C with 251 plugged in minus C with 250 plugged in. Okay, and then you get this expression. So pause the video at any time if you want to copy this down. Let's see here. Well, I do this in a kind of fancy way because I'm allergic to calculators. 8,000s cancel. And I have 251 times 200 minus 250 times 200, give me just 200 here. And then I combine these two terms here into this. Anyways, this is all very fancy because I don't want to use a calculator unless I absolutely have to. In the end, I get this. So you can calculate this however you want. And we get about almost $100. Okay, the next question was to find C prime and then plug in 250. So taking a derivative of the cost function gives me this expression. And then I plug in 250 and I get $100. Okay, what do I notice? Well, I notice that these two things are very close together. Well, why would that be? Well, here we have C of 251 minus C of 250, all divided by 1. And here we have well, what do you have? You have your old derivative formula, right? C of x plus, not x, 250 plus h minus C of 250, all divided by h. Then we do a limit as h goes to 0, right? So I guess I want you to notice the similarities here. This fraction is the same as this fraction when h is exactly 1. So when you do the limit, you don't get the same thing, but it's going to be approximately equal. Okay, so we write that down in this statement here. Okay, so C prime is roughly equal to what we're going to call the marginal cost. So a marginal cost is something a firm is quite often interested in. It's how much is it going to cost me to make one more unit? We call that marginal cost. So marginal cost is this 99.80 here. And C prime of 250 is almost the same thing. So close that we actually call it the marginal cost function. Okay, the next thing we have is average cost. Average cost, which is, we're going to use C bar of X, the bar on top. Okay, so it's the cost, and you divide by how many units you're making. And that's what we'll talk about next.